Hey, Teddy here. Sorry I'm 4 minutes late with this update vlog. Now I've got several great news I'd be honored to share with you. The first thing that I'm gonna tell you guys about is this. Now, remember last month when I said that I found a new title card artist named Seuss Solomon? Well, about that, I did find a much better title card artist. And you want to know who will be doing the title card for Casual Reviews with Bare Rim Shot was a public apology? Well, if you're an Epic Battles fan watching this, you'll be excited when I say this. The person who's actually going to do the title card will be my good friend, Dante DeJesus. Now, for those who don't know who Dante is, he's a very special good friend of mine, and he also co-created the entire Epic Battles franchise with me. And I bet you're all wondering, how did I get Dante to help me do the title card for Casual Reviews with Bare Rim Shot was a public apology? Well, when I first came to St. Chris, I did use the help of another good friend from Andros by the name of Micah Davis, who's basically a big fan of my works. For those who don't know who Micah is, not only is he a good friend of mine, but also he's a huge Epic Battles fan, and he's also a huge fan of my YouTube page. So I'm just gonna say this, Micah, thanks for getting Dante for me. And also, Dante, in case if you're watching this, thank you for working on the Epic Battles franchise with me, and also thank you, Dante, for letting me know about what happened at my bar mitzvah, which I'm gonna get into later. So anyways, another piece of good news that I'd also be honored to share with you is that in case if you guys haven't noticed, there a bunch of new videos from SPARC TV with me are all up. In case you guys haven't noticed, last month there have been several new videos up. The first one being, of course, Cupcake Wars. Now, for those who don't know what Cupcake Wars is, it's basically where you get to make cupcakes, right? And, yeah, basically all that stuff. Anyways, in the Cupcake Wars video I did this year, it appeared to be hosted by an old friend of mine by the name of Richie Persico, and when Richie Persico does get to appear in the video, he does get to puppeteer Barney the Purple Dinosaur. Look, I know a lot of you hate Barney, but please hear me out that, keep in mind that, yeah, and also, the Cupcake Wars video that I did last year, was hosted by a former SPARC student named Eric, don't know his last name. So anyways, and also I got to be in another SPARC video, the one where we talk about why you guys should join SPARC. Not to say that you guys have to or anything like that, just that, well, it's a great program to be a part of. Well, that is if you're living in Westchester, like me, for example. Anyways, and yeah, there are other cool SPARC videos you can go check out. The link is in the description. The links are all in the description below. Just to let you know, the reviews that I do under SPARC TV, for those who haven't seen my update vlogs from back in September 2014, December 2014, and February 2015, I've already said this, that the reviews that I do under SPARC TV are not canon to my interpretation for the reviewer. So anyways, and also, I have another piece of great news I'd be honored to share with you guys. For those who don't watch AniMat, last month, AniMat has finally read my letter, so yay! So anyways, when AniMat was reading my letter, I did for those who haven't seen last month's episode of What's in the Box, not only did I tell him that he's been a great influence to me, that without him, not only would I be able to get into watching reviews, but also he would not exist in the Epic Battles world, and I would not be able to create my own review show. But also, I did ask him for Dr. Seuss related questions. Yeah, as you guys can tell, I am a huge Dr. Seuss fan. So anyways, I asked AniMat what is the best Seuss cartoon he's ever seen, what is the worst Seuss cartoon he's ever seen. I also asked AniMat what is the best Seuss game he's ever played, and what is the worst Seuss game he has ever played. Well, he did say this, that the best Seuss cartoon that he's ever seen so far would be, of course, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And yes, people, I'm talking about the one where Boris Karloff voices the Grinch and is animated by Chuck Jones. Fun fact, we'll later on do a cartoon adaptation of Horton Hears a Who and The Cat in the Hat. Not the movies, but the TV cartoons from Dr. Seuss's lifetime, from the early 70s. So anyways, and also I did ask him what is the worst Seuss cartoon he's ever seen, unless if you can count the animated feature films. He did say it would be the Lorax. Say what you guys want about Illumination's The Lorax, but personally, I don't find that movie to be as bad as what most people say they would be. So anyways, and I also did get to ask AniMat what is the best and worst Seuss game he's ever played. Unfortunately, AniMat has not played any Dr. Seuss games whatsoever. Now, AniMat, in case if you're watching this, I hope you enjoyed reading my letter last month. And also, if you really want to play a good Dr. Seuss game, I'd recommend you stick with either the Living Books games, the Creative Wonders games, the New Kid Co games, or the movie games. As those games that I just named are all the best Seuss games ever played. However, AniMat, if you happen to own any iOS or Android devices, whatever you do not get any Ocean House Media games. Want to know why? Because Ocean House Media, they're just the LJN of edutainment, and they're just an insult to my childhood, and also, they're just made to cash in with the success of Living Books. And I just wish it if all those Seuss games were made by either Wonderful or Software Mac, just like how they were when they were released on the Macintosh computers instead. Yeah, in case you guys are wondering why would I ask AniMat those four questions, it's just that, well, it all started way back last year. Good friend from Facebook, Mike Janik, who you guys may know him more as Mike Mixtape, did once do a Cinema Royale episode based on all the Dr. Seuss films. In the end of the video, spoiler alert people, Mike did ask AniMat, Hymington, and Morgan what is the best and worst Seuss movies they've ever seen. For the best Seuss movies, since AniMat has not seen Horton Hears a Who yet, AniMat's best Seuss movie would go to the live-action Grinch movie. And yes, people, AniMat really does like the Grinch movie. Now, if you thought that AniMat would hate the live-action Grinch movie, perhaps you guys have not watched Cinema Royale yet. Because, a good friend of mine, a huge fan of all of Mr. Code and Friends on Facebook, by the name of Devon Cook, did bring up a really good point that if you really do want to get to know more about what AniMat actually likes and hates, you guys should all consider going and watch Cinema Royale. It's that good, but sadly long. The link to the What's in the Box episode from last month and the link to the Cinema Royale series both can be found in the description below. So anyways, now that I got all the good news out of the way, here are two big things that I need to address with you guys. Now, in case if you guys have not seen last month's update vlog, I already explained what I'm going to be apologizing for when I do the public apologies editorial. Which in this case I've said about how that I'm going to apologize for all the mistakes that I've made when making the Epic Battles movies. About that, I will say this, people. Although I do find it understandable that not a lot of people may like the idea of hearing Waka Flocka songs in the soundtracks, just because they're just too mature to be in a kids movie like that, and also do find it understandable that not a lot of people may like the idea of My Little Pony characters appearing in epic battles, especially when it's from Equestria Girls. Ever since when I finally got to release Epic Battles back in 2011, despite of all the love I got for those who have thankfully seen it, I unfortunately have been getting unreasonable hate for the following characters I used. And this is why I'm here to address this. Here are the following characters I've been getting a lot of unreasonable hate, and hear me out when I explain why I would ever including those kind of characters, alright? Now, the first character that I've been getting unreasonable hate to use would be, of course, Mario. Then you're not a real Mario fan for saying that, and you're not a real gamer for saying that Mario can't be in epic battles either. Because when it comes to Mario, he helped revolutionize the video game industry. Without the existence of Mario, not only would we not see Nintendo create any more beloved video game franchises like The Legend of Zelda, Kirby, Pokemon, Fire Emblem, Star Fox, Metroid, Ice Climber, Kid Icarus, Super Smash Bros., and many others, but also we would not see Mario save the video game crash of 1983, and also we would not see we would not see Nintendo be able to create the Nintendo Entertainment System. We would not see Nintendo create the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. We would not be able to see the Nintendo 64. We would not be able to see the GameCube exist. We would not be able to see the Wii. We would not be able to get to see the Wii U. We would not be able to get to see the Game Boy. We would not be able to get to see the Game Boy Color. We would not be able to get to see the Game Boy Advance. We would not be able to get to see the Nintendo DS. We would not be able to get to see Nintendo DSi. We would not be able to get to see the Nintendo DS Lite, nor will we be able to see the Nintendo 3DS, nor will we ever be able to get the Virtual Boy, thankfully. So anyways, and also without Mario's existence, Sega would not be able to compete with Mario. And also without Mario's existence, we would not see Sony create the PlayStation, and also without Mario's existence, we would not be able to see Microsoft create the Xbox. And also, without Mario's existence, we would not see Bowser be able to make a cameo in Wreck-It Ralph. And also, without Mario's existence, we would not be able to get, Alright, and also without Mario, we would not be able to see films like Wreck-It Ralph nor Pixels exist. And also, without Mario, we would not be able to see him get satirized in The Simpsons. And when it comes to the Mario franchise, what makes Mario a perfect fit for epic battles is the fact that, well, there have been games out there in that same franchise that do have things for both kids and adults to all be able to enjoy. Well, some Mario games that did some things that did some innovative things would be, of course, Super Mario Brothers was the first ever game to ever be released on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and also, Super Mario 64 not only marks as Mario's first ever 3D appearance, but also marked as the first ever Nintendo 60. It also marked the launch of the Nintendo 64. So, anyways, what makes Mario a great influence that he deserves to be in epic battles? Not only are there a lot of great Mario games that exist out there, like Donkey Kong, Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Mario Kart, Mario Party, and Mario Baseball games, and the Super Smash Bros. Games. But also, we've heard great music being listened to over the years. And also, another character that I use that I did get unreasonable hate would be, of course, Sonic. Then you're not a real Sonic fan for saying that, and also, again, you're not a real gamer for saying that Sonic can't be in epic battles either. Because the reason why I would ever include Sonic is, like Mario, not only does he have things for both kids and adults to be able to enjoy, but also, like Mario, Sonic has also revolutionized the video game world. I mean, without Sonic, not only would he not be able to compete with Mario, but also we would not see characters like Crash Bandicoot, Sly Cooper, Kratos, and Master Chief all be able to compete with Mario. Not only that, but also we would not be able to see Sonic appear in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. We would not be able to see Sonic appear in Super Smash Bros. 4. And also, without Sonic's existence, we would not be able to see Nintendo create. We would not be able to see Nintendo consider adding in any more third-party characters like Snake, Ryu, Pac-Man, Mega Man, and just recently, Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. So, and also, without Sonic's existence, we would not see him get parodied through The Simpsons. And also, without, how can I put this? Oh, right. Without Sonic, we would not be able to see him, and also, without Sonic, we would not be able to get to see many TV cartoons, and also, without Sonic's existence, we would not see both him and Dr. Eggman being able to make a cameo in Wreck-It Ralph. So anyways, another character that I use that I did get unreasonable hate would be, of course, the Dr. Seuss characters. Then you're not a real Dr. Seuss fan for saying that. And also if you thought Dr. Seuss characters don't fit well for epic battles, then I'm gonna call you the following names from now on: Homer Simpson, Sideshow Bob, Peter Griffin, Eric Cartman, Captain Hook, and Angry Grandpa for saying all that, for backlashing me for the inclusion of Dr. Seuss characters. Now, look, people, the reason why I would ever consider adding in Dr. Seuss characters is that when it comes to Dr. Seuss, he does have things for both kids and adults to be able to enjoy. The reason why his books are there, not only do they all have great stories to be told, but also they're made to teach kids how to read. I mean, yeah. Look, I know there may be other children's books out there that kids can also read, such as Arthur, Berenstain Bears, the works of Eric Carle, and all that stuff. Now, look, people, even with the existence of Berenstain Bears, even with the existence of Arthur, even with the existence of the works of Eric Carle, and also even with the existence of the Railway series, whom you guys may know him more now as Thomas the Tank Engine, Dr. Seuss does remain as a childhood classic. And if you're a parent watching this if you're a parent or a teacher watching this who happen to have kids, if you're a parent or a teacher watching this, I highly recommend you guys to read several Dr. Seuss books to your kids, alright? Not only are there the books that are great, but also there are the TV cartoons, the movies, as well as the games. Just as long as they're not made by Ocean House Media. Anyways, another thing about epic battles that I've been getting unreasonable hate would be, of course, just because when presenting the DreamWorks universe into epic battles, all I did go is nothing but Shrek is love, Shrek is life, and it's all ogre. Technically, when including DreamWorks characters into epic battles, that is not the case. I mean, when including DreamWorks characters into epic battles, we don't go all Shrek is love, Shrek is life, nor do we all go it's all ogre. I can tell you all for a fact that sure, Shrek may be considered love, however, he's most certainly not life, and I can tell you all for a fact that epic battles is not all ogre. Trust me when I say this, people. There are other DreamWorks characters. There are other characters from DreamWorks' library that I would use for epic battles, including Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda, Monsters vs. Aliens, How to Train Your Dragon, Flushed Away, Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado, Spirits Dine of the Cimarron, Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas, and many other DreamWorks films. And yes, people, I'm totally aware of the fact that there are some people who may not like Shrek due to the fact that Shrek would try to be this one film that would be a middle finger to Disney. What makes it that would be, of course, the fact that, well, you know Lord Farquaad from Shrek? Fun fact, Lord Farquaad is heavily based off of Disney CEO Michael Eisner. That's because one of DreamWorks' co-founders, Jeffrey Katzenberg, used to work at Disney until 1994. After Frank Wells died in a helicopter crash, this is the moment when Jeffrey Katzenberg was trying to be president of the Walt Disney Company. This is the moment where Disney CEO at the time, Michael Eisner, would then refuse to promote him president, and thus Jeffrey Katzenberg gets fired from Disney and resigns, and then co-founds DreamWorks SKG alongside with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. So, anyways, the reason why I would consider adding in Shrek characters into epic battles is the fact that, well, it's got things for both kids and adults can all enjoy. That what makes Shrek so great that they would be in epic battles would be, of course, fun fact, Shrek was not only the first animated film to ever win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, but also the sequel Shrek 2 has been noted as the first ever animated sequel to ever be able to get an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, but sadly lost to The Incredibles. And Shrek 2 would also become the highest grossing animated film of all time until Toy Story 3 kicked in as of 2010, as well as again until Frozen kicked in 2013, which I'm going to talk more about later, I promise you guys. So anyways, another character that I've also been getting unreasonable hate for using will be, of course, any character that is from the works of Aardman Animations. Then you're not a real Aardman fan for saying that, and then you're not only that, but also you're not a real animation fan for saying that, and also you're not a real stop-motion animation fan for saying that Aardman characters don't fit well. I mean, yeah, stop-motion can be hard to animate, even more harder than hand-drawn, even more harder than CGI. So anyways, the reason why I would ever include various characters from the works of Aardman is because due to the fact that, well, not only are their stories great, but also they got likable characters, and also the writing appears to be smart. And when I say the writing in the films and shorts that Aardman makes appears to be smart, I'm talking about, of course, in the level like what you guys would see coming from something like Doctor Who, Monty Python, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. What I'm trying to say to you is that when I say the writing, and I think that Aardman makes it smart, I'm talking about the same level that brought us Doctor Who, Monty Python, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, James Bond, as well as in the Nintendo era Rare games. You know, those rare, games like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64, Mickey Speedway USA, the Donkey Kong trilogy, and all those games, basically. And when another good reason for me to include characters from the works of Aardman is the writing that can be seen in there. It's not as dumbed down. It's not like what's coming from Teletubbies or Boobas, where the writing would be all dumbed down. I can tell you for a fact that when you guys do get to watch Morph, when you guys do get to watch Wallace and Gromit, not just all 4 shorts of it, consisting of A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers, A Close Shave, AniMat of Wolf and Death, but also including the Kraken Contractions shorts, as well as The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, as well as when you guys do get to watch Chicken Run, when you guys get to watch Flushed Away, when you guys do get to watch Arthur Christmas, and also when you guys do get to watch The Pirates Band of Misfits, and also when you guys do get to watch Shaun the Sheep, not just the TV series of it, but also the movie of it as well, you guys will see that the writing in there is smart. Definitely way more smarter than what you would see coming from something like the Teletubbies and Boobas. Let's just face it, alright? In something like the Teletubbies, there are some moments that can be dumbed down for a lot of people. Heck, my new editor, Nick, there's one thing about the Teletubbies that did used to scare the crap out of my new editor, Nick. Now, you know the windmill from Teletubbies? Well, I've known people who have been traumatized when it comes to the Teletubbies, not just because of the windmill, but also the fact that, the Teletubbies is basically, when you take a look, see what's on top of the Teletubbies' heads, the things that you would see on top of the Teletubbies' heads were all 4 Teletubbies consisting of Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, and Po would all resemble penises. I'm not gonna lie, people. I've known people out there who have been controversial over the fact that, well, the things that you see on top of a Teletubby's head would resemble penises. So anyways, and when it comes to the Boobas, that's also another dumbed down teaser that a lot of people hate. Haven't watched the Boobas, to be honest with you, though I did once heard that through an article saying that if you're someone who grew up in England, you will be traumatized when you watch the Boobas, even more traumatized than the Teletubbies. So anyways, another character I've also been getting unreasonable hate. Another thing about epic battles that I've been getting unreasonable hate to include would be, of course, seeing that there are various different Disney characters appearing in epic battles. And guess what, people? If you thought that Disney characters don't fit well in epic battles, then you're not a real Disney fan for saying that, nor are you a real animation fan for saying that either. Now, look, people. The reason why I would ever consider using Disney characters into epic battles, now, when it comes to Disney, though, they've got things for both kids and adults can all enjoy. I mean, sure, they may not be the first thing in animation to come to exist, as there were cartoons that exist before Walt Disney's time. As I'm fully aware about the fact that animation was originally invented by a guy named Winsor McCay. Now, for those who don't know who Winsor McCay is, you guys may know him more as the guy who would create such films like Gertie the Dinosaur and Little Nemo, not to be confused with Pixar's Finding Nemo. So anyways, however, when it comes to Disney, though, there are a lot of different characters that I would include. Here are the following ones that I would consider using. The first, or should I say the most obvious one out of the bunch, being, of course, the animated classics. What made the animated classics so good that they should be in epic battles is the fact that, well, not only do they have all great stories to be told and likable characters, but also they've got great animation, great songs, and also what made the animated classics so great that they should be in epic battles will be, of course, the fact that, well, most of these animated classics can be innovative, not just according to the Walt Disney Company itself, but also according to animation history as well as film history in general as well. At least let me explain some of Disney's animated classics that did some things that was so innovative. Now, one Disney classic that did some things that was so innovative to all of animation history and film history would be, of course, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was not only the first ever animated feature film that Disney has ever worked on, but also this was the attempt for Walt Disney to make more feature films. Not only that, but also Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was also the first film to ever be shot first ever animated film to ever be shot in Technicolor. Not only that, but also this was the first ever animated full-length feature film to ever come directly from over here in the United States. Whereas animated films were released before then, they would have been released in Europe. And they would have all been in black and white for the most part. So anyways, another animated film that Disney did that was innovative would be, of course, Fantasia. Not only was this the first ever package film that Disney has ever worked on, but also, this was also the first ever film to use stereophonic sound, and it also marked as the first ever feature film appearance of Mickey Mouse. Fun fact, the role for the Sorcerer's Apprentice was originally supposed to be played by Dopey, but then Walt Disney and Leopold Stokowski both insisted that they would have Mickey Mouse play the title role of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And also another animated Disney classic that also did something innovative would be, of course, Saludos Amigos, which not only marks as the first ever feature film appearance of Donald Duck, but also the first ever feature film appearance of Goofy as well. And also another animated Disney classic that was also innovative would be, of course, Cinderella, which in this case did mark as Walt Disney's return to fairy tale since Bambi. Yeah, in case if you're wondering why would I say that, well, let me explain why I would consider that. Well, considering the fact, well, when you guys do take a look at a film like Snow White, Pinocchio, Dumbo, Bambi, or Cinderella, you would see that story-wise they would have at least one story to be told. Whereas in films like Fantasia, on the other hand, they would have multiple stories being told. And also, another animated Disney classic that did some innovative things would be, of course, Alice in Wonderland, which would be marked as the first ever animated Disney film to ever have a closing credits. And Disney films released in the past as well as in the future, all the way up till The Black Cauldron was released, usually they wouldn't have a closing credits, but instead would end with the end. Whereas in a film like Alice in Wonderland, they would have an end closing credits ever since when it first came out back in 1951. Disney did not make an animated feature where they would have closing credits in the end until The Black Cauldron kicked in 1985, which I'm going to get into later. So anyways, and also another animated classic that Disney did that was innovative would be, of course, Peter Pan, which has been marked as the most commercialized film, most commercially film of all time, animated film that Disney has ever worked on. What makes it that ever since when Peter Pan first came out, not only did we see it get a sequel that went straight to theaters, done at Disney Toon Studios, but also it got a preschool TV series currently airing on Disney XD called Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Not Disney XD, but also got a preschool TV series called Jake and the Neverland Pirates, which would basically marked the introduction of Disney Junior, which would replace Playhouse Disney. So anyways, and then of course we do get to see Peter Pan appear in the world of crossover media. We've seen Peter Pan character. The success of Peter Pan would also lead to make cameos in the world of crossover media, including a cameo in Raw Tunage, including cameo in Raw Tunage, as well as several appearances in the House of Mouse, also including the 2 direct-to-video films, Mickey's Magical Christmas, known at the House of Mouse, and Mickey's House of Villains, as well as also appeared in Kingdom Hearts, also appeared in Epic Mickey, so much so that AniMat would even do an Epic Mickey Files episode based on the following Peter Pan characters, consisting of Captain Hook, Mr. Smee, TikTok the Crocodile, and Captain Hook's crew. And then there's also three video game adaptations of the Disney cartoon version of Peter Pan. And then there's also an appearance in Once Upon a Time, as well as a parody of it as seen in Family Guy, which we would see Peter Griffin play the role as Peter Pan. It should not be surprising, as Peter Griffin does one thing that both Peter Griffin from Family Guy and Peter Pan both have in common, is that they both do share the same first name. And also, we've seen it get several comics as well as books to tie in with the film, and also, that's all I can pretty much think of. Oh, right. And also, another animated classic that Disney did that was innovative would be, of course, Lady and the Tramp, which would be the first ever film to use CinemaScope, which would later on be used in Sleeping Beauty, The Black Cauldron, Atlantis: The Lost Empire, Brother Bear, and Don Bluth's Anastasia. And then another animated classic that Disney has ever done would be, of course, 101 Dalmatians, I believe, was the first ever animated Disney film to use the Xerox process. And another animated film that Disney did that was innovative would be, of course, The Black Cauldron, which would not only be the first ever animated Disney film to get a PG rating, but also the first ever animated Disney film to not have any musical numbers whatsoever. And also, this is the first ever animated Disney film to ever, but also this was the first ever animated Disney film to use CGI. Now, if you guys thought that the first animated Disney film to ever use CGI goes to The Great Mouse Detective, then you guys have not seen Animation Look Back just yet. Because, as you guys just learned just now about The Black Cauldron, The Black Cauldron is technically the first ever animated Disney film to use CGI, and not The Great Mouse Detective. I mean, yeah, I can understand why it would happen like that. Just because, due to the fact of how The Black Cauldron is not as popular as a film like Snow White, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, or The Lion King, or any of those films, unfortunately. Similar to So anyways, moving on, and then another animated classic that Disney would also do that was innovative would be, of course, Oliver and Company, which would be the first ever animated Disney film to heavily use CGI while having all the characters appear to be all still hand-drawn. And another animated classic that Disney has also done would be, of course, The Little Mermaid, which would be the first ever animated Disney film to ever use the CAPS system. Now, for those who don't know what CAPS is, it basically stands for Computer Animation Post-Production System. And another animated classic that Disney has also done that's innovative would be, of course, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Not only was this the first ever film to ever feature familiar characters from multiple different companies into one, but also, it also marked the first, and unfortunately, the only time in all of animation history where we do get to see both Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny both appearing at the same time. Not only that, but it also marked as the first and sadly the only time that we would ever see Donald Duck and Daffy Duck both appearing together at the same time. And this was also it also marked as the first ever feature film appearance of Minnie Mouse, as well as the first ever feature film appearance of Horace Collar, as well as it also marked as the first ever feature film appearance of Clarabelle Cow, and also we also do get to see, this marks the first ever feature film appearance for a lot of the Looney Tunes, the first ever feature film to ever feature the Looney Tunes that's not a package film. And also, it also marked as the last time that we would ever, marks as the last time that we would ever hear Mel Blanc voice the Looney Tunes characters until his death in 1989, alongside with Daffy Duck's Quackbusters, and also another animated Disney classic that was also considered to be innovative would be, of course, The Rescuers Down Under. Not only was this the first ever sequel to an animated classic that Disney themselves have truly worked on, but also this was the first ever animated Disney film to fully use the CAPS system. And also, another animated Disney classic that also did some things that's innovative would be, of course, Beauty and the Beast. Which one thing that Beauty and the Beast did that was innovative to the animation industry would be, of course, it was the first ever animated film to ever be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. And another animated film that another animated Disney film that also did something that was innovative would be, of course, Aladdin, which would be marked as not just the first ever animated feature film that Robin Williams has ever worked on, but also it marked as how can I put this? Oh, right. It also marked as the highest grossing film of 1992, thus beating out films like Barney's Great Adventure and Bebe's Kids. And another animated Disney film that also did something innovative would be, of course, The Nightmare Before Christmas, which would be the first ever stop-motion animated film that Disney has ever worked on. Or should I say, the first ever stop-motion animated Disney film. Anyways, also another animated Disney classic that would also be innovative would be, of course, The Lion King, which would end up being the highest grossing hand-drawn animated film of all time. So much so that we would later on get 2 direct-to-video sequels, as well as 2 TV shows, consisting of Timon and Pumbaa and just recently The Lion Guard, which I've yet to see. Anyways, and then there's also... And also there was a Living Books-esque game based on The Lion King, as well as special guest appearances in House of Mouse, as well as an appearance in Kingdom Hearts 2. Anyways, another animated Disney classic that did something that's innovative would be, of course, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which in this case, not only was it marked as the first, and thankfully the only time that we would ever see an animated Disney film get a Razzie Award, but also this was the second ever animated film to ever get a Razzie Award. The first one being Don Bluth's Thumbelina, due to it being released during the Disney Renaissance, and the third one being 8 Crazy Nights, due to the fact that not only was it released during a certain time period when hand-drawn animation was falling, considering the fact that computer animated films released at that time were all successful, all thanks to the success of Toy Story, which I'm going to get into later, but also it was released during a certain time period when Adam Sandler movies at that time would get a lot of hate. Anyways, and then the fourth one being Star Wars: The Clone Wars, due to it being an animated film instead of it being a usually live-action film. And the fifth one being Legends of Oz: Dorothy's Return. And I bet you're all wondering, how did The Hunchback of Notre Dame get a Razzie? Well, not only is the story appeared to be unfaithful towards the original book, but also, despite getting a G rating from the Motion Picture Association of America, it does contain some dark elements that can easily traumatize kids for life. You know the song Hellfire? Well, that song can be considered really dark for children. So much so that when Huey Toomore, VG Retro, and the Film Buff all did a top 20 greatest animated villain songs countdown, VG Retro would get controversial over the fact that, well, that despite getting a G rating, it does contain certain elements that are unsuitable for children. So anyways, another animated Disney classic that would also do some things that's innovative would be, of course, Tarzan, which would be the first ever animated Disney film to use the canvas process. And another animated Disney classic that I can also think of that did something innovative would be, of course, Fantasia 2000. Not only did it enter the millennia era, but also another thing that Fantasia 2000 also did that was innovative would be, of course, the first ever film to ever be released in IMAX theaters. And this was unfortunately the last package film that Disney would ever work on, unless you count films like some of the direct-to-video Pooh films, Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, and Atlantis, Milo's Return. So anyways, another animated Disney film that did something that was innovative would be, of course, Treasure Planet, which in this case did get to be marked as the first film from a major motion picture company to ever be released in both regular theaters and IMAX theaters at the same time. It's a shame that, like The Rescuers Down Under, Treasure Planet ended up being a major box office failure. And also, another animated Disney classic that also did something that's innovative would be, of course, Dinosaur, which would be the first ever animated Disney film without Pixar's involvement whatsoever to be fully computer animated. Sure, the backgrounds may be live action, but the characters as seen in Dinosaur were all computer animated. Yeah, the reason why I would ever consider Dinosaur as the first ever animated Disney film, the first ever computer animated Disney film without Pixar's involvement whatsoever, is the fact that, well, not only was it released 5 years before Chicken Little first came out, but also, it's the fact that, well, when you watch Dinosaur, you'll see that there's no hand-drawn animation whatsoever. It's just the animation of the characters are all computer-generated. When you guys take a look at a film like Fantasia 2000, you will see that they would use all kinds of animation. Though I'm aware of the fact that, well, that there was one segment from Fantasia 2000 that have the characters all being computer-generated, being the steadfast Tin Soldier. However, there's also the reason why I would not count Fantasia 2000 the first ever computer animated Disney film without Pixar's involvement whatsoever is the fact that, well, animation-wise, they just didn't use computer animation. There's also hand-drawn animation. Well, there are two kinds of traditional animation they used. The first one being, of course, the one that Disney would regularly use, as seen in segments like Carnival of the Animals, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and Pomp and Circumstances. Not only that, but also, and then there's also this Al Hirschfeld style that can be seen in the segment Rhapsody in Blue. And then there's also the kind of animation that see coming from painting that can be seen in film on segments like Symphony No. 5, The Pines of Rome, and The Firebird Suite. But you may see something like this later on happen once again with Tangled. And also another animated Disney classic that also appears to be innovative would be, of course, Lilo and Stitch would be the first ever animated Disney film to ever be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, alongside with Treasure Planet, both of which sadly lost to Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away. And also, another animated Disney classic that would also do something innovative would be, of course, A Christmas Carol, and I'm talking about the one with Jim Carrey, which in this case would be the first ever animated Disney film to fully use motion capture. And also, another animated Disney classic that's also considered to be innovative would be, of course, The Princess and the Frog, which did mark as Disney's return to hand-drawn animation since Home on the Range, unless you count whatever Disney worked on at Disney Toon Studios at that time. Unless it did mark as Disney's return to hand-drawn animated features released in theaters since Home on the Range, unless you guys can count Pooh's Heffalump movie and all the films that they would work on at Studio Ghibli, or unless you can also count all the Disney direct-to-video sequels released set between 2004 and 2009. And also another animated Disney classic that also did some things that's considered to be innovative would be, of course, I believe it's whatchamacallit? Oh, right. Winnie the no, I mean it would be, of course, Tangled, which has been marked as the first ever computer animated Disney film to ever be a part of the Disney Princess franchise. Well, and also another animated Disney film that's considered to be innovative would be, of course, Wreck-It Ralph, which would be the first ever which marks as the first ever film. No, I mean, some things that Wreck-It Ralph did that was innovative would be, of course, it marked as the first ever film. It marked as it marked to be the return of crossover movie since Who Framed Roger Rabbit, unless you can count Epic Pals, which came out in the year before Wreck-It Ralph first came out anyways. And also, another thing that Disney did, another animated Disney film that was innovative would be, of course, Frozen, which would be the first ever animated Disney film to ever be able to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. I mean, yeah, it's a shame that we didn't get to see Wreck-It Ralph win that award back in 2012, but instead it led to Brave. And also, another animated Disney film that also did some things that's innovative would be, of course, Big Hero 6, which not only would it be the first ever Disney Marvel film to not be set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but also this is the first ever animated Disney film to be based on a Marvel comic, as well as the first ever animated Marvel movie to ever go straight to theaters. As all the other animated Marvel movies in the past would all go straight to video. I mean, I can understand why, considering the fact, well, the people in Marvel just don't want to take the same risk as you would see what already happened with Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Not saying it's a bad movie or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, people. I love Batman Mask of the Phantasm. It's just the fact that, well, for the box office, it unfortunately did not do well at the box office, which is why you would later on see all the other animated Batman movies as well as all the animated Marvel movies go straight to home video. So I guess in order for a Marvel movie, for a superhero movie to be successful at the box office, like let's just say if it's based on a Marvel or a DC comic or something like that, I guess it would have to be live action. Well, at least The Incredibles succeeded at the box office, succeeded both critically and commercially, that's for sure. So anyways, and also, a second thing about Disney that I would I'd consider using for epic battles would be, of course, the Pixar films. Like Disney themselves, Pixar has also done some things that's innovative as well. Toy Story was not only Pixar's first ever full-length feature film, but also this was the world's first ever fully computer animated feature film to ever be released. And also, another Pixar film that would do something that's innovative would be, of course, A Bug's Life, which would be the first ever Pixar film to ever compete with another computer animated film, to have similarities with a DreamWorks film being Ants. And another Pixar classic that would also be innovative would be, of course, Toy Story 2, which not only was this Pixar's first ever sequel to be released, but also this was the world's first ever computer animated sequel of all time. And also another Pixar classic that do some things innovative would be, of course, Monsters, Inc., which would be the first ever Pixar film to ever get an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And also another Pixar film to ever be able to win Another Pixar film to also be innovative would be, of course, Finding Nemo, which ended up being the first ever Pixar film to ever win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And then, of course, you got The Incredibles, which would be the first ever Pixar film to ever get a PG rating from the Motion Picture Association of America. And also another Pixar film that would do something innovative would be, of course, Cars. Wait, excuse me one sec, people. Cars. Here we go. So anyways, sorry about that, people. Anyways, another Pixar film that was innovative would be, of course, please don't get mad at me when I say this, people, but it's Cars. One thing that Cars did that was innovative would be, of course, this was the first ever Pixar film to not feature, the first ever Pixar film where we humans don't exist whatsoever. And also another Pixar film that also did some things that's innovative would be, of course, Up, which would be the first ever Pixar film to ever get nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture. And then another Pixar film that would also do something innovative would be, of course, Toy Story 3, which in this case would end up being, not only would it be the highest grossing animated film of all time until Frozen kicked in, but also, it was also the #1 best animated sequel in AniMat's top 10 best animated sequels. And also, another thing that Toy Story 3 did that was innovative would be, of course, how can I put this? Oh, right. It had, another thing that Toy Story 3 did that was innovative. It was the first ever animated sequel to actually win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. Not only that, but also this was the first ever animated sequel to ever be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. Not only that, but also, this was the highest grossing Pixar film of all time, thus putting films like The Lion King and Shrek 2 into shame. And also, another Pixar film that did something innovative would be, of course, Cars 2, which in this case it was the first ever Pixar film to ever receive a Rotten rating. And also, another Pixar film that also do some things that's innovative would be, of course, Brave, which in this case it would be the first ever Pixar film where its main female character would get to be part of the Disney Princess franchise. And then there's also yeah, that's all I can think of. Another aspect of Disney that I would consider incorporating elements from for epic battles would be, of course, the underrated ones being, of course, please don't hate me when I say this, but it's the Disney direct-to-video sequels. Yeah, in case you guys are wondering why I would ever include characters from the Disney direct-to-video sequels, well, yeah, despite of all the hate it got, there are people who can be passionate about those films, like myself, for example. Just as much as those who are passionate about, when it comes to the Disney direct-to-video sequels, there are people who can be passionate about it, myself, just like there are with Thomas the Tank Engine, just like there are with people who are passionate about Thomas the Tank Engine, just like there are with people who are passionate about My Little Pony, as well as just like of how we see people being passionate about Star Wars. The same thing can also be said about the Disney direct-to-video sequels. And yes, Kevin Devaney, I'm totally aware of the fact that Walt Disney never liked making sequels, so you can stop harassing me with that fun fact. So anyways, when it comes to the Disney sequels, they have done some things that's innovative. Well, the Return of Jafar was the first ever animated Disney sequel to actually get a direct-to-video release instead of a theatrical release. Not only that, but also another film that Disney Toon Studios did that was innovative would be, of course, DuckTales the Movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp, which was the first ever animated Disney movie to be based off of a TV show. And also another film that Disney Toon Studios did that was innovative would be, of course, Return to Neverland, which in this case it ended up being the first ever sequel to an animated Disney classic to not be the first ever Disney sequel to not be part of the Walt Disney animated canon to ever get a theatrical release instead of a direct-to-video release. And then, however, there's also Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas, which will be the first ever computer animated film that Disney Toon Studios has ever worked on, as well as and then there's also Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, which would be the never mind. So anyways, when it comes to the Disney direct-to-video sequels, they do have things that both kids and adults can enjoy. And in case you guys haven't noticed, I did create a petition to Disney to make more sequels. And if you guys have not signed it yet, I encourage you all to sign in and share it. The link to my petition can be found in the description below. So anyways, yeah, however, one Disney sequel character that you gotta have to remember is very important for the Epic Battles franchise would be, of course, Jane from Return to Neverland. What made Jane an important character for Epic Battles is not just because of my enjoyment of that same Disney sequel character, but also the fact that, well, keep in mind that Jane is the kind of character, there are people in this world who can be passionate about the character. Just as much as how there are, he's basically one of those Disney characters not from Walt Disney Animation Studios nor Pixar who tend to have a lot of fans, that do get a lot of love, alongside with Dr. Hamsterville from Lilo and Stitch, as well as all the Disney Afternoon characters, as well as yeah. I mean, if you guys want to know why I would ever consider, not only why I would love Jane, but also why I would ever consider making Jane play a bigger role in Epic Battles, you should go, the link to the video that explains why I like Jane can be found in the description below. So anyways, when it comes to one other aspect of Disney that I would ever consider borrowing elements from would be, of course, Disney's TV department. When it comes to Disney, the only Disney TV shows I would consider including to Epic Battles are mainly TV shows that did get to air on Toon Disney. We're talking like those originally aired at the pre-2009 Disney TV cartoons. And I bet you're all wondering, would I ever consider adding in characters from TV shows that did air either on Disney XD, Disney Channel, Playhouse Disney, or Disney Junior. For Disney XD, both yes and no. It depends on the character. on which characters talk about. The only Disney XD characters I would consider adding into Epic Battles are Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls, as well as any acquired programmings like Marvel and Star Wars. Well, there are 3 Disney XD TV shows I would consider using characters from, consisting of Phineas and Ferb, Gravity Falls, and Star Wars Rebels. And I bet you're all wondering, what about Star vs. the Forces of Evil? Let's just say no. I'm not going to include, and no people, I'm not going to add in characters from Star vs. the Forces of Evil because I felt too afraid. If I add any characters from Star vs. the Forces of Evil, I may get the same amount of hate that I already got when adding in My Little Pony characters. At least the Equestria Girls. And a fellow former Ardsley student, such a good friend of mine by the name of Rachel Greenwald, did bring up a really good point on Facebook when she said this. Here we go. Well, when it comes to... Anyways, my good friend Rachel Greenwald, aka the Physic Werewolf, did bring up a really good point when she said this. To be fair, Star Butterfly is extremely violent. This is a character that learned from when she was 4 how to break a person's neck. Big difference from those other characters whose lives consist of tea parties, making friendship bracelets like Disney Junior characters, put Star into epic battles, and she will cause a bloodbath. Well, of course, since this is a girls' TV show we're talking about right here, I'm definitely not going to include any characters from Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Considering the fact that I already tried something like this with My Little Pony, at least Equestria Girls in that case, and oh boy did that cause a lot of controversy, including from my former editor, AzuchiGuardian. So anyways, and as for whether or not I would include characters from TV channels originally aired on Disney Channel, only if it's a TV show that's fully animated and is well liked, like The Proud Family, Kim Possible, Lilo and Stitch the Series, The Emperor's New School, Dave the Barbarian, Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, and Phineas and Ferb. And I'm definitely not going to include any live-action Disney Channel sitcoms whatsoever. But as for Playhouse Disney and Disney Junior, definitely not. You will definitely not see any characters from any shows from either Playhouse Disney nor Disney Junior join epic battles, with the exception of Shaun the Sheep. Look, I know Shaun the Sheep is not owned by Disney, but please hear me out when I say this, Aardman fans, that Shaun the Sheep did actually air on Playhouse Disney over here in the United States of America at one point. And now it's now airing on Boomerang. However, if you were living in the United Kingdom, you would have probably been able to watch it on BBC. Just like what you already have been with all the Walls and Gromit shorts or everything Aardman would make for the most part. Anyways, and also, then there are the video games, and then there are the comic books. So anyways, moving on from Disney, another character that I've also been getting a lot of hate for using would be, of course, just because, how can I put this? or just because there are Star Wars characters in it, then you're not a real Star Wars fan, and you're not a real film buff for saying that Star Wars characters don't fit well in epic battles. Look, people, the reason why I would use tons of elements from Star Wars is because, due to the fact that it's the kind of film that can inspire not just people creatively, but also it did a lot of things that was innovative towards all of cinema history. Heck, so much so that when it comes to Star Wars, ever since when it first came out back in 1977, Star Wars has been proclaimed to be one of the greatest films of all time, alongside with Citizen Kane, Jaws, E.T., Schindler's List, and even Psycho. So anyways, another character that I also been getting unreasonable hate to include would be, of course, another thing that you've been about epic battles that a lot of you have been giving me unreasonable hate would be, of course, Jane from Return to Neverland. Then you're just hating her just because you're just hating her not just because she's a sequel character, but also you're just hating Return to Neverland just because they did not bring back to talk to Crocodile, but instead bring back the octopus. Not only that, but also you're just hating all the Disney direct-to-video sequels, including Return to Neverland, just because how bad Return of Jafar is. Yes, I can understand why a lot of people hate Return to Jafar. I have to agree with Joey Tedesco that Return to Jafar is the worst Disney sequel that Disney has ever done. Well, unless you count Kingdom Hearts 2 in that case, which would be even worse. So anyways, saying that all Disney sequels suck just because of how bad Return to Jafar is, it'd be just like saying that all Star Wars video games suck just because of how bad the games from the 80s are. Yeah, even with the baddiness of all the Star Wars video games released in the 80s, there are better ones that we can all think about even up to this day that are actually good, like Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars The Force Unleashed, and Disney Infinity 3.0, and all those games. With the Disney direct-to-video sequels, even if the baddiness of Return to Jafar and Mulan 2 both exist, there are better Disney sequels that we can all think about, like The Rescuers Down Under, Fantasia 2000, Lion King of Thieves, Return to Neverland, Cinderella 3, Twist in Time, both Lion King sequels, and all that stuff. And also, another character that I've been getting unreasonable hate for including would be, of course, Frozen. Then you're not a real Disney fan for saying that Frozen characters don't fit well for epic battles. Now, look, people. The reason why I would ever consider adding in Frozen characters is due to the fact, well, again, as I said before, not only is Frozen the highest grossing animated feature of all time, but also it thankfully got the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and also it has a great story being told, it had great animation, it had likable characters, and great songs. I mean, yeah, I know some of you, though I'm totally aware of all the hate that Frozen got lately, particularly when speaking about the song Let It Go. So anyways, and also another thing about epic battles that I've been getting as an unreasonable hate to include would be, of course, the Fairly Odd Parents. Then you're not a real Nickelodeon fan for saying that Fairly Odd Parents don't fit well for epic battles. Now, look, people. The reason why I would ever consider including characters from the Fairly Odd Parents, this is regular Nickelodeon / Nicktoons Network we're talking about. It's not like we're talking about like if it's like Blue's Clues or Dora the Explorer or Little Bear. Oh, no. This is the same guys that brought us SpongeBob SquarePants, Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Jimmy Neutron, Danny Phantom, or basically just any of that stuff we're talking about right here. which is why I would ever consider including adding in Fairly Odd Parents characters into Epic Battles by especially making Timmy Turner a main character in that case. And also another thing about Epic Battles I've been getting unreasonable hate to include would be, of course, just because the midichlorians are there. Then again, you're not a real Star Wars fan for saying that midichlorians should not exist. Now, look, people. The reason why I would ever reference midichlorians into Epic Battles is the fact that, well, when it comes to midichlorians in general, keep in mind, for those who don't know what a midichlorian is, a midichlorian is basically something that all Jedi tend to have. Not just in the Star Wars universe itself, but also the same with the Epic Battles world as well. And keep in mind that without the existence of midichlorians, Jediism would not even exist in the first place. And speaking of which, one thing about Epic Battles that I've been getting a lot of unreasonable hate to include would be, of course, the use of real-life personalities, which I'm actually defending for good reason. Now, look, people, before anybody can go file me any lawsuits for saying that, keep in mind that whenever I do get to add and include any characters into Epic Battles, regardless if they're real life or fictional, I don't try to illegally claim rights to things I don't own. I don't fall for that. When including third-party content for any particular projects I would work on, regardless if it goes straight to theaters or straight to home video, I always give credit to their rightful owners, just to let you guys know. However, one other thing that I also almost forgot to clarify would be, of course, now, whenever I have a real-life personality appear as a hero, normally what would actually happen is basically I would try to show my gratitude for all the good things he or she has done with me. Which this is the case that would normally happen with family members, friends, people from Ardsley, people from Kota, basically people whom I've personally trusted. People whom have been trustworthy to me in real life can be heroes. So anyways, whenever I have a real life personality character appear as a villain, normally this is a strike back based on what they did wrong. The only real life personalities who'd be villains in Epic Battles are mostly people whom have bullied me in real life. We're talking like people who have been very, very obnoxious to me in real life. So anyways, and when it comes to the use of real-life personalities, I mainly include ones that I personally already got to know in my lifetime. Regardless whether it be someone from my family, someone from the Ardsley, someone I've known from Ardsley, someone I've known from Kutz, someone I've known from Andrus, or even someone I've known from Westbrook or whatever. However, I also do include people that exist in the reviewerverse. One review word that... when it comes to real-life personalities, like with fictional characters, there have been real-life personalities who can be important for Epic Battles, including myself, my brother Evan, as well as all four of my cousins, Jackie Macedo, Robbie Macedo, Tommy Macedo, and Helena Macedo, as well as my mom, my dad, my 3 uncles, my 2 aunts, all my 6 grandparents, even if my step-grandfather has sadly passed away back in 2013, as well as several Ardsley people, including good friends like Sophia Bavar, Brianna Gallo, Joseph Gallo, Melissa Wishner, Ali Wishner, Juliette Wishner, Mariel Bremer, and many other amazing friends. However, and then there's also this one gym teacher from Andrus being Mr. Genevieve. Well, which in this case, I made him a villain due to the fact, well, when I was going to school at Andrus, Mr. Genevieve used to bully me a lot. And there was this one time, right? We were all having an ice cream social, right? And when the ice cream social was going on at Andrus, this is the moment where Mr. Genevieve would then try to talk to me, saying that they don't starts talking to me about the fact that there is no sorbet. Now, if you really think that he was joking about it, technically he wasn't joking that there was no sorbet. It's basically a true fact right here. And in case you're wondering why did that matter for me, well, that's because I used to be gluten-free, casein-free, that's why. However, after receiving creative treatment, this is the moment where I did outgrow my gluten-free, casein-free diet because of all the creative mistreatment. I know, shocking to those who are more used to that fact, but yeah. So anyway, you guys get the idea. So anyways, however, there is one internet reviewer that has been very important to the entire Epic Battles world. And that reviewer is AniMat. Now, look people, the reason why I would ever consider including AniMat for Epic Battles is because due to the fact, well, what made him so great that he would be in Epic Battles would be, of course, not only when he makes videos, he would try his best to be informative when he does something like Animation Look Back, the Epic Mickey Files, but also even when he helps narrate fantasy movie memories. But also, another thing that AniMat did that make him a great fit for Epic Battles will be, of course, one thing about AniMat that he does prove to the entire reviewerverse will be, of course, he does prove about the fact that, well, to make great review shows, to make a great review series, there is no necessity in constantly swearing. And he is, however, unfortunately one of those very few reviewers that don't swear whatsoever, alongside Mr. Code, Huey Tumor from Huey's Animated Movie Reviews, Rowdy C from TV Trash, and Linkar from Atop the Fourth Wall in History of Power Rangers. So anyways, yeah, and also another good reason for me to have AniMat play a big role in Epic Battles is considering the fact that most of the characters that do play a big role in Epic Battles generally do come from cartoons, or should I say animation in general. And also, there is also another reviewer who also can be important for Epic Battles, that being Jewario, which I've also been getting unreasonable hate for including. Now, look, people, the reason why I would ever consider including Jewario into Epic Battles is the fact that, well, when it comes to Jewario, what made him a perfect fit is, like AniMat, he can be informative. And, oh, by the way, which reminds me, did I ever tell you guys that since I already fired AzuchiGuardian and Nick is now my new editor for Casual Reviews with Bayram, I can... By the way, have I ever told you guys that since now that AzuchiGuardian is no longer my editor and my new editor for Casual Reviews with Bayram is now Nick, I can finally give out my memorial honor out to Jewario? However, he will not be the only person who I'm going to give out a memorial honor out to. There'll be more people who I may give out a memorial honor out to than just Jewario. Don't worry, people. I can tell you all for a fact that all the memorial honors being given out this time will all be reasonable. Which in this case, I'm going to give memorial honor out based off of people from that are considered lessons to either animation, also including anime, as well as video games, as well as comic books, also including children's books and comic strips, as well as Star Wars, as well as I'll also be giving out memorial honors based off people from Ardsley, as well as Andrus, as well as my family, as well. Yeah. However, there is one rule that I need to make up. For me to be able to give out a memorial honor for the Public Apologies editorial, they must already pass away either as of the year 2000. They must die in any time past 2011. Then I can consider giving out memorial honors to that same person. And then there's also, when it comes to Juario, like AniMat, not only when it comes to Juario, not only is he a legend in the Reviewverse, but also he's a legend in Epic Battles, and also he's a legend from all around that guy with the glasses, aka Channel Awesome. And the second biggest concern, enough talk about Epic Battles. Now I've got one more big thing I have to address. Now, for those who don't know, ever since just right after I came back to school from my bar mitzvah weekend, I've been having plans on possibly redoing my bar mitzvah. Now, look, people. Now, before anybody can go spam me with compliments regarding to my bar mitzvah, at least let me explain for once on why I would ever consider redoing my bar mitzvah. Alright? What got me to redo my bar mitzvah is that when I had my bar mitzvah back on March 6, 2010, I did not get to go however I originally intended to be at all, which I think is just bullcrap. Well, there are two things when it comes to my bar mitzvah. If you thought it was it ended up being a success, then you guys have no idea about the truth behind it. Which is why I'm here to explain to you guys what actually happened at my bar mitzvah. Well, when I was having my bar mitzvah, it was not as successful as how we all thought it could have been. Alright? I'm saying this is a fact, not as a view nor as an opinion. It's a real fact right here that you guys have to know. My bar mitzvah was not a success. It was a failure, alright? Look, people, I used to have that same fantasies about Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs being a box office success. Which really, it was not a success at the box office, alright? Which is why the directors of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Chris Miller and Phil Lord, both did not get to direct any more films made by Sony Pictures Animation, but instead directed films like The Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street. I bet you're all wondering who directed any of Sony Pictures Animation's later films. For Hotel Transylvania 2, they were both directed by Genndy Tartakovsky, who also was best known for creating cartoons like Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, Samurai Jack, and the Clone Wars cartoon from the mid-2000s. And also, for the Pirates Band of Misfits, it appeared to be directed by Peter Lord, who not only co-founded Aardman Animations, but also previously co-directed Chicken Run. And also, as for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 and the Smurfs movies, I'm gonna find out right now. Cloudy, here we go. Let's see who directed Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. Yes. For Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, it was directed by DreamWorks animator Cody Cameron, who was also the voice of Pinocchio in the Shrek movies, and was also was the voice of Mr. Weenie from Open Season, and voiced the Three Little Pigs, and also did some films at DreamWorks like the Shrek movies and Madagascar, and was also in Arthur Christmas. And not only is directed by Cody Cameron, but also directed by Chris Pern, whom also did the animation on films like Rescue Heroes, Titanite E, Max and Ruby, Handy Mandy 16, Open Season, the first two Open Season films, and Surf's Up. and the Pirates Band of Misfits. So anyways, people, back onto my bar mitzvah. Yeah, I know. Whenever you guys do get to hear that my bar mitzvah ended up being a failure, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys would have been shocked about that. Here are 2 reasons why my bar mitzvah ended up being so disastrous, so much so that I got discouraged from reading Torah while I'm at residential. The first one being, of course, the fact that when I was having my bar mitzvah, right, I was actually still residential. However, that's not what made things worse. What made it even worse is that the second reason being, of course, a former kid from that same residential school that I went to at that time by the name of Nate Rivera actually did trash my bar mitzvah. I'm not lying, people. This is the truth I'm talking about right here. And if you guys do not know who the fridge Nate Rivera is, then you guys are all absolutely lucky. Because trust me when I say this, people, that when you guys do get to meet Nate Rivera, this is the moment where things get even worse. And yes, people, Nate Rivera's definitely gotta be even way worse than AzuchiGuardian. Now, for those who have known me more, for those who did not get to go to school at Andrus with me, I know what some of you are probably going to be like. Wait, wasn't AzuchiGuardian originally your biggest bully? Technically, not really. I mean, yeah, I will say this, people, that yes, people, AzuchiGuardian is indeed my biggest bully on the internet. Or should I say my biggest troll in that case, that I've encountered on the internet. However, AzuchiGuardian is not my biggest bully I've ever had. Trust me when I say this, people, that I've had worse bullies in my lifetime. Heck, out of all the bullies that I've had in my personal life, Nate Rivera just got to be the worst one. At least let me explain why. When you do get to take a look at all my other bullies, especially also including AzuchiGuardian, there's always going to be one thing that makes them so redeemable despite all the bad. Like, for example, with AzuchiGuardian, even if he does have some things to work on, I will give him credit for the fact that he does try to be thoughtful based on what other people like. Well, let me explain what I mean. Whenever he sees a Disney item, or most likely a Star Wars item in that case, he would try to show me it and give me gifts. Not only that, but also, another good thing I can also give AzuchiGuardian credit for is the fact that, well, whenever I get any request to review something for casual reviews with Bear Rimshot, he would just let me know ASAP. Not only that, but also another good thing about AzuchiGuardian that I can also say is that he did teach me one interesting fact regarding to the character Marth from Fire Emblem. He did inform me about how that in the game codenamed Steam, Marth would get an English-speaking voice actor. How do I feel about it? Personally, I think it's a great idea. It's a shame that they did not get an English-speaking voice actor for Super Smash Bros. 4 from Marth. So anyways, when you guys do get to take a look at someone like Nate Rivera, on the other hand, there's nothing redeemable about that guy at all. He was just that one dirtbag that just trying to trash my bar and stuff. And which reminds me, and I'm just gonna say it, Woodlands Community Temple, in case you guys are all, I'm just gonna say it, Rabbi Mara, Rabbi Billy, Kenner Jonathan, in case you guys are basically those who work at Woodlands Community Temple, in case you guys are all watching this, I ask you guys nicely to please create a detector that can easily ban all weapons. I mean, let's just face it, people. The use of gun violence has gone way too far lately. Not just at my bar mitzvah, but also just in general. I mean, in case you guys haven't noticed what happened earlier this month, there was an ISIS attack happening in Paris, France. How do I feel about it? Well, I will say this, people, that I do feel very, very sorry for those who got hurt in that ISIS attack set in Paris, France. And I have to agree with Joe Biden that the use of gun violence has seriously gone way too far. Well, and so yeah, this is why I think Woodlands Community Temple should create detectors to make sure so that way no one can bring in weapons. The reason why I say that is because, well, I just wanted everyone to have a safe and fun time. A synagogue is supposed to be the kind of place where you can get educated there, and when you're at someplace like a synagogue, right, you're supposed to give people peace, and also you're supposed to get people, you're supposed to get educated there. I mean, when you go to someplace like a synagogue, it should not be, it's supposed to be the kind of place where to give people peace. Not the kind of place where you do violence or anything like that. That's not how a synagogue should work. Which is pretty much the same reason why places like schools, churches, and camps all exist. Basically, they're not made to hurt people, threaten people, do violence on people or anything like that, but also rather create peace for everyone, as well as or basically just get educated. Heck, if I were at someplace like at a school or a camp or a synagogue or basically a church or whatever, basically what I would do is I would try to give everyone peace, and also but also I would try to keep myself educated ASAP. And that's all I have to say, people. So I do apologize for those who can't sit through long videos. I do apologize for filming too long. So yeah, so that's about all I have to say. I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving, people. And also be sure to eat all that turkey or mashed potatoes or stuffing or ham, or basically whatever you guys usually do eat on Thanksgiving normally. Love you guys, and peace out, people.